Hi, this is Sensei James Leonelli from Sensei's Weekly Mindset, and I'm here to talk to you about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. Don't forget my personal favorite, MMA. We've got it all on betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, we can help you find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And don't forget BetOnline for NHL, boxing, golf, and like I said, my personal favorite, the sport of MMA. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Life isn't always easy, and you don't have to face it alone. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of needs. To get started, you simply answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's most convenient for you. The best part is, if your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price, all from the comfort at home. To start your journey and to get 10% off of your first month, go to betterhelp.com/sensei. That's betterhelp.com/sensei. BetterHelp, you deserve to be happy. Hi guys, Sensei James Leonelli here to talk to you about another one of our sponsors, LMNT. An electrolyte drink mix. Each one of these little packets gives you exactly what you need to keep you as hydrated as all us athletes like to be. If you're like me, you work out a lot, and when you work out a lot, you also sweat a lot. Now, when we sweat, we don't lose just water, of course. We also sweat out salt. We sweat out electrolytes. So each one of these packets contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, giving you everything that you need in order to maintain optimal hydration and nothing that you don't. So to go online, place an order for your sample pack, and to get yourself a bonus free sample pack, you're going to go to this website right here, elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. You're going to see this down in the video below, but I'll say it one more time for you. elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. Again, it's a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Sensei's Weekly Mindset. I'm Sensei James Leonelli, owner and head instructor of Tiger Schulman's here in Smithtown. Once again, I am back in my home recording space, ready to give you guys this week's food for thought. As per usual, I'm wearing a little more of this time's 40th anniversary collection. You can see it here. This is the particular shirt that has all of our logos throughout the years in the back. Really cool shirt. Definitely one of my favorites for sure. Check it out along with every other line, streetwear, Everyday We Train, and everything else, and the limited edition school apparel, all available on Tigear, TIGEAR.com. So, as we speak today, guys, we are just days removed from Flex Fight's 39 Coliseum, which was an absolutely spectacular event. We were back in the Selden Fire Department Training Center, which is a really unique venue when it comes to combat sports, because it is exactly what the name implies. It is the training center for a fire department. It's like a big garage space is kind of the best way to think about it. And we very, very much like embrace what the space does for us. So big garage doors open on the one side. On that one side, there's a tent with food, drink, vendors were outside, the bathrooms were out there, and so forth. But nonetheless, what it did for us is as the place got packed, it didn't get overwhelmingly hot, which is nice. Really cool acoustics, right? Because a reasonably low ceiling for how big the space is, and really like contained the sound very, very well. And we had a really epic night of fights. Just some awesome amateur fights, some awesome pro fights, pro MMA, pro kickboxing. We had a Team Tiger Schulman's fighter on the card. But we kicked it off with some kickboxing, and some great fights throughout. Some guys getting win streaks going. Some guys getting their careers going. Third fight of the night was Ricky Sanchez from Tiger Schulman's, and Ricky is the consummate professional. Despite being an amateur fighter, this only being his second fight. Ricky also runs a videography and photography company called Bantam Shot, and he does that very well and very professionally. Everything he does there is very professional. When he came to the 60-day challenge, he was our videographer for that as well, for the podcast and everything that we did, and he did a very good job on that. Very good. Very professional. Was very on top of things. Always minded his P's and Q's. Got us a high quality product. And he's been doing his training at the Regal Park Tiger Schulman's with a very good friend of mine, Sensei Stein, who's been on the podcast several times. And Sensei Stein talked to me specifically this morning about what a pleasure it is to work with Ricky when Ricky's fighting. He goes, I didn't really have to do anything. He goes, I worked with him one-on-one, sometimes, mitts and tie pads, and kind of gave him an idea as to what the game plan should be and what we should be working on. And, Ricky's like, he came up with his own schedule and how he was doing things. And, sometimes a fighter will do that, and their coach has to be like, okay, yes, that's great, but here's the adjustments we're going to make. Or you're doing too much, or you're doing too little. And, unfortunately, sometimes with younger fighters, it's a little bit of that first one where it's just a little bit too little. And, they think just because they're God's gift to fighting that they're going to win just because of that and not because of the work they put into it. But Ricky, exactly the opposite, very professional. And he just did a phenomenal job. Really, he fought a much taller opponent. Ricky's only about 5'2", and the guy he fought was 5'10", both weighing in at 125 pounds, polar opposites of what the weight class can look like. And man, did they look good. They really, it was a great fight for Ricky. He pressed his much taller opponent back, continually just smothered his opponent, worked the body, worked the head, real nice long combinations. And fought at a real frenetic pace. It was the kind of pace that Ricky started to get caught a little bit towards the end of the third round, second half and end of the third round. And really, I think what that came down to was just the frenetic pace that they kept. Like, he was just going like gangbusters the whole freaking time. Just like I guarantee you in that 6-minute fight, if the punch count wasn't six figures, it was really close to six figures. And Ricky was throwing most of them. And his opponent was doing a good job. His opponent was firing back as best he could, but Ricky did a really good job of rendering the reach of his opponent kind of useless. And he forced the taller man, I should say, to fight like a T-Rex, and no tall guy likes to do that. None of us like to have our arms stuffed into our sides as we try to fight. And Ricky was very effective, landed some very big shots, and really took a lot of the fight out of his opponent's brother. Has fought for Flex several times, so I know they're scrappy guys. I know they're tough. I know they got some flash, and he really never. His opponent got off like one or two shots early, but then Ricky's like, okay, no, we're done with this, and then just went right to work smothering him and using the pressure phenomenally. It was a really good job. The only advice I would give to Ricky at all that I didn't give on commentary was, Ricky, fill out your fighter questionnaire but better next time. Don't just give me NA the whole time. I love you and I know you, but you got to give me more information to play on the broadcast. Anyway, moving on. We had a couple spectacular knockouts as we rounded out the amateur kickboxing portion of the card. Just a crazy head kick came out of nowhere. More on that fight by all means you can find. We had a light heavyweight MMA fight. That was impressive. Really, really impressive. It was really a thing of beauty, because we had the stereotypical striker versus grappler, where we had a gentleman, decorated judo player, grappling heavy submission hunter, and a guy with a boxing background who did do some wrestling as well. And man, Daniel, who had the boxing background, just looked phenomenal. Light on his feet, nice flowing combinations, really made it difficult for his opponent. And here was another pleasure that we had. Really tough guy out of Long Island MMA. He fought a stud making his kickboxing debut, and this young man, Dylan. Dylan had one MMA fight, and it didn't look that way. He'd been wrestling for 4 years, training MMA for 2, and only kickboxing for a year. But man, did this guy look technical and polished, excellent distance, excellent coordination, really, really knew his range well, great reaction time, and really just did a great job of setting patterns, breaking them, and staying very technical throughout. And his opponent was very tough and would have stayed in the fight a lot longer, but the referee thankfully saved him from himself, because Dylan was just finding his shot over and over and over again. We continued with some more amateur kickboxing after that. Some other really, good guys overall. We went up in weight class, down in weight class, up in weight class, down in weight class. We eventually had a Muay Thai bout, which is kind of a unique thing for Flex. We don't do a ton of Muay Thai because, frankly, it's not the popular fighting style. When we think of kickboxing generally, when we think of combat sports, we think of like Glory or K1 style kickboxing, where the guys are allowed to grab, strike, but let go. Like, you're not allowed to sit there and hug onto each other and just throw knees and elbows. And in amateur, they can't throw elbows anyway unless they wear elbow pads. But we had a gentleman who made excellent use of his knees in the clinch. Really broke his opponent down body-wise, and man, oh man, it was an impressive display of the Muay Thai clinch for sure. We continued into amateur MMA, and again, really good fights here. Secret Weapon MMA, they had a pro fighter on the card back in August, and they got some blood on my tablet during the card, and his teammate kept that alive. They got blood on my tablet during their fight as well. We started we went deeper into MMA, and again, did really, really good fights overall. Some real experienced people. Ricky's opponent, his brother, fought later in the night for an interim title, and he did a very good job there, winning his fight pretty handily, finishing his opponent very, very quickly. Heavyweight fight was crazy. It was definitely one of those things where we for sure were like, I really hope the cage is put together well enough to keep these guys in there, because, like, big boys, hit hard, very, 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 very strong guys, and a great performance as well. That ninja, Nico Getling, making his return to the Flex cage after a win back in June. Tough road to the cage with this guy. 2 opponents pulled down on him. He had to come down lower in weight, and he looked really, really good. Did a great job, made his way to an arm triangle finish, and man, it was great. Thankfully, we finished our preliminary card fairly early, so some of the other technical issues and stuff that we were having, we were able to work them out before we got to our main card, which is on Fubo. Little bit of a miscommunication what happened with commentators, so we wound up having 4. So I wound up sitting out the first fight, and then doing post-fight interviews. First fight of the night, Eli Evangelista. That man, if not sponsored by Energizer, should be, because the pace this guy keeps is incredible. Took on a very game opponent, making a return to the cage after a while back, who was very funny in his fighter questionnaire. But Eli just threw everything besides the kitchen sink at Francisco, and Francisco just would not go away. Spectacular performance. From, the grittiness of Francisco, the toughness, and man, oh man, Eli Evangelista. Co-main, we had some veterans of the Flex cage, Ty McNett and Pernell Rochelle, make their return. Tyler showing a new wrinkle in his game, showing us some jiu-jitsu, which we hadn't really seen from him before. Pro-main event for MMA. I want to talk more about this. I'm going to come back to it, though, because that's going to hit really what I want to talk about. Then after that, we went back to some amateur MMA. Some other great fights here. A couple of decisions that I'm seeing. A quick knockout early by David Kuki, who made an MMA debut. Again, lots of kickboxing in his background. And just clipped his opponent, poured it on, and just did an amazing, amazing job. We had a bit of Street Beefs legend, old boy David, look him up online. There's some crazy highlights of him sleeping dudes despite being 50 some odd years old, 52 specifically. Fighting a game Lawrence Wing in a kickboxing fight. A cut eventually stopped that fight, but old boy David was sticking in there. I got to give him credit where credit is due. Some great wrestling by Fernando Collado. Mario de los Santos really using his kicks well in a kickboxing fight. Glad to see that guy able to use his kickboxing skills well. First amateur kickboxing title of the night was Luke the Truth Hart trying to avenge his teammate against Angel Collazo. Good fight, tough fight for both guys. Both guys look good. Really awesome fight for both gentlemen. Pro kickboxing fight. Two veterans of the flex cage of the Northeast fight scene, Mackenzie Hedden and Shedrick Goodridge. Man, oh man, oh man, what a fight this was. Just these guys bombing at each other early on. Eventually, Mackenzie finds a knee seemingly out of nowhere. Just like the tide was starting to go in his direction, and he just threw a left knee and put Shedrick out. And Shedrick, no complaints about the stoppage at all. Just tells you how complete it was. Here was a cool moment as the 90s kid that I am. Takai Smith making his MMA debut. Takai Smith is the son of rapper Busta Rhymes. So we have Busta Rhymes in the building, which is pretty cool. And his son did an awesome job, 4-0 in kickboxing, did amazing in his MMA debut. Really, you could see the kickboxing prowess, really knew his range well, and did an awesome job there. One of his teammates, Christian Carlo from Mutant MMA, comes out, wins a kickboxing bout against another game guy. Again, really looked composed there. Third Mutant MMA representative in a row, Musa Sultan, another member of the Sultan family who's fought several times for Flex, comes out, wins by KO. Awesome fight. Chris Van Dunk gets the submission he was looking for all fight long. Last fight in this fight early on. He looked really great. Kevin Poblano, Ahmed Carmino. Good fight in the first round, and then all of a sudden, the second round, out of nowhere, Ahmed Carmino throws a spinning hook kick, knocks Kevin Poblano out. It was incredible. Never saw it coming after the wrestling heavy attack of the first round. Really good stuff. But I do want to get back now to the main event, because this is going to bring me to the mindset I want to close everything up with. And this fight was over 2 years in the making, well over 2 years in the making. Devin Worth versus Ryan Jarina. Now, there's some story here. Ryan Jarina was the undefeated Flex champion for a very long time. As an amateur, he had 12 fights undefeated, and the only knock on Ryan ever was that he wasn't very active. But that was, he was training. He always looked better every time he came out. So, what do you say to a guy who's still winning fights despite being very inactive? And he was so experienced, it was hard for a lot of guys to deal with him. And he was training. It's not like you hadn't been training. It's not like he hadn't been putting the work in. It was very obvious he was putting the work in. And Devin Worth was, kind of our next big thing at 170 years ago. And and on the amateurs, that was. He was our next big thing. Eventually he got to the point where we have to have this fight. And we do, as amateurs, in October of 22. So it was October 2022. And this was, I had been with Flex not quite a year, about 8 months at that point. And I had just started doing bits of the main card where Dave Del Rocca needed me to fill in. I wound up doing this fight. And it was incredible. Devin came out. Again, this is the fight back in October 2022. Devin comes out and wins the first round pretty handedly with his stand-up. His stand-up looks very polished, which it is. He looked very solid. His striking looked very powerful. And Ryan was eating some big shots. And he was, circling them off and this, that, and the other. And then eventually, come round two, Ryan shoots a single, gets his hands on him, and just kind of climbs his way up Devin. Manhandles Devin to the ground. And the second they hit the ground, the disparity of someone who that night was awarded the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt versus someone who was not yet a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. And it the disparity of the ground skill showed. And who knows how much of it was Devin going out fighting his tail off in the first round and trying to finish Ryan in the first round and maybe not having, managed his energy wisely. So when they hit the second round, he was pretty tired. Could have been that. It could have been the oh no effect of, oh God, this is where my opponent wants this fight. And now he's got me there. So that panic can certainly set in. Or it could have been a skill deficiency. Or it could have been a combination of any of the three. But either way, that's how that first fight played out. And that was Ryan's last amateur fight into October 2022. And in the interim, he was training, didn't fight. There were clips all over of him, going and training with Alexander Volkanovski, clips of him going and, training with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He was putting some work in with some really good people. In the interim, Devin comes back and takes, my math may be incorrect here, but I believe he fights 4 more times in the ensuing time. Fought 3 more amateur fights, winning them all. And interestingly now, Devin, who's a very decorated kickboxer, he starts to use some wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and a lot of it. Eventually, he gets promoted to his purple belt after one of his fights. And he's looking really solid. Turns pro, and he comes back avenging a win over a gentleman, Brian Topp, who had a win over a teammate of his on the pro ranks. And that was back in February of 24. And they were trying to get Devin to fight sooner. Some stuff happened. I'm not really sure what. He was going to try to maybe go on the road to other promotions since he had fought so much of his career with Flex. Winds up back at Flex. This fight was supposed to happen a couple months ago. Fell through for whatever reason. Eventually happens again on the 28th. And man, oh man, oh man. I said it about 14 times in the broadcast leading the fight. I'm just so excited for this fight. I didn't want the fight to start because I didn't want it to be over. I didn't want it to get there. Just 2 very skilled guys. Very calm, very composed. And I respect both of them because though both of them are very confident martial artists, neither guy feels the need to posture or tough guy or be some kind of fake jerk just to try to sell a fight. They knew what the fight was. This is 2 guys who are going out there and they're going to try to beat each other. These are 2 modern day gladiators. This is what they're born to do. They're going out there to do it. And I respect that a lot about both of them. I think that they are very much like GSP in that way. Where this is it's a fight, but it's a competition. And we're going out there to compete one man against the other. We're training to fight for sure. But we don't need to say things about each other that we don't mean just to try to sell a fight. We know our skills. We know our charisma. We know the energy of this fight will sell itself. And it did, man. There are pictures of the crowd during this fight. You could not have, if you burped in that building, the building was going to explode. There was nowhere to put anybody else in this building. It was overflowing out into the vendor area. It was nuts. Oh my God, what a crazy crowd. And the energy. And they get out and I feel like the room is buzzing. And they come out, and in a bit of a reversal of fortunes, Ryan takes out the first round. Gets some takedowns, a couple of them. Gets some positions on Devin. Shows some elbows, which we didn't get to see in his amateur career. We're because that was one of the question marks. Ryan hasn't fought in the pro rules. How's he going to change to these rules? And he applied some elbows right away. It really, to me, the fight came down to the question mark of which work will have been more. Which work will have been more significant? The work in the dark that Ryan Torino was doing where no one was seeing, it was just him happening in the room, or the work under the lights that Devin was putting in. And obviously, Devin's doing work behind the scenes as well, but, a lot more strides are made in days of competition. They say, it's said that, 1 day of competition is worth 3 months of training. So how much did that gap close? Like I said, Ryan took the first round, and it was competitive, but Ryan definitively took the first round. Second round, big momentum shift. Devin, it looked as though Ryan was starting to get a little tired. Maybe he was expecting the fight to go a little easier than it did. And there was a little bit I don't know if it was doubt or fatigue or both. Or just the fact that, this fight was tough. It was a tough pace fight. And there were a lot of fighting up against the cage, a lot of knees and elbows up against there. I would say round 2 went to Devin pretty handedly. Controlled the outside of the clinch because they fought against the cage a lot. Did a lot of damage from there. Eventually, we get to the third round. And again, buzzing. Devin gets a takedown. Now, Devin did get a takedown in the second round. He got a foot sweep that was pretty cool, but didn't have much time to do anything with it. It was a really cool foot sweep because it kind of came out of nowhere, and it had high impact because it came out of nowhere. It wasn't really expected. At any rate, so third round, work against the cage. Devin gets a big takedown, and he's sitting in Ryan's half mount, and he's doing some work there. He is hammer fisting, punching, elbowing. At one point, takes Ryan's back, And now Ryan finished him in the amateur fight with a rear naked choke. And Devin went for it, and it looked like he might have had it. But Ryan fought his way out. And Devin comes out, finishes the round, heavy ground and pound. Devin comes away with the decision. For some reason, it was a split decision. I'm not really sure what one of the judges was watching. It was definitely one of those fights. Nonetheless, I get in the cage, and I get to do the post-fight interview with Devin. And it was awesome. It was a real. I told him first that the fight lived up to the hype, because it certainly did. And I asked him how good it felt to get this win back, and he goes, didn't tell a lot of people of this, but that fight robbed me of so many nights of sleep. He goes, I have to thank my opponent, because without him I wouldn't be the man I am today. And man, oh man, like that hit me in the soul. I loved that thought from Devin Worth. And to me, it's a great lesson to share with you guys. Because I said it to him in the cage and on the microphone. But more importantly, this is a bigger message. A person is not defined by their challenges. A person is defined by their response to those challenges. Do they take that adversity and crumble? Or do they use that adversity as an opportunity to build, to get better, to learn, okay, this is where things went wrong, and this is where I need to go. Okay, I'm going to stumble on my way to where I want to be, but I still want to be there. And if I want to be there, I got to get myself back up and put the work in time and time and time again. And the work that Devin has been putting in definitely showed. He used the adversity of a big loss in a big fight to turn him into a better, stronger man. That is so commendable, so entirely commendable. And he mentioned, he goes, I lost sleep many nights about that fight, thinking about the things I could have done differently, thinking about all that, and what people said about me after the fight and this and that. And now I wonder. Now I wonder, me wondering, will Ryan Jarina do the same thing? Because I have a strong feeling that these guys, and Devin said it too on the mic, he goes, I do not think this is the last time I see Ryan Jarina. I think we will see each other again and again, and maybe it'll be at the big show. And that would be so cool. That would be a really cool, come together kind of moment. But again, what growth from Devin Worth. And again, what a fantastic thought. And I want you to think back now, as I'm reflecting on this. Think back over the things in your life that you tried at and failed, the things that did not go your way, the things that made you fail. Now, we know failure is never permanent. You can always get back up and try again, but did you? Did you get back up and try again? Or did you instead take it laying down? My advice to you, friends, revisit those things mentally. Look at them and use them to make you a better, stronger version of yourself. Learn from them and grow from them, because you'll be amazed the levels you can achieve using those failures as steps to the next level. So that's all I have for you guys today. As always, you can reach me via email, senseileonelli@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at @sensei_Leonelli. On Facebook, I'm Sensei James Leonelli. You can find my school. We're online at tsmasmithtown.com. Facebook, we're at facebook.com/TigerSchulmanSmithtown. Twitter and Instagram is at tsmma_Smithtown. Find out more about the Tiger Schulman's organization as a whole at tsk.com. You can find the podcast on Instagram at Sensei's Weekly Mindset. You can find everywhere I'm on the internet at my linktree, linktr.ee/Sensei Leonelli. Find everything about Flex Fights. Find everything about Tiger Schulman's. Find out more about our sponsors. Sponsorship opportunities are still available. Make sure that you guys have already left a rate and review. It just helps. Make sure you subscribe. Get your new episodes every Wednesday. But the most important thing you can do for me, guys, share the podcast. There is no better compliment you can give me than sharing it on your social media. It's the only form of advertising I have. So I very much appreciate it when I see you doing it. Thank you very much. Other than that, my friends, until next time, invest in yourselves. I'll see you guys on the mat.